Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our course, Training and Development. And now we are in the chapter 2 of our discussion, and this is about aligning training with strategy. So join me as we talk about more about this topic. It is said that training is an important cost for most employers, and we agree to that. Last chapter, we talked about the benefits and advantages of of training and development to the organization and the employees themselves. And needless to say, we can conclude that training and development are vital and necessary and important to develop and provide growth not only to the employees but also to the organization. And so nowadays, because of these changes, because of the changes in business environment, most organizations decide to regard training as a necessary activity for long-term strategic goals. Before, we considered HR as a short-term activity, but nowadays, because of the changes, because of the updates, and because of the experiences that we are having, because of this technological advancement, now most organizations are using training not only as a short-term activity but also as a methodology in order for the organization to achieve their goals and of course their objectives. Okay, so with that, organizations are really working hard for them to be competitive and to have that competitive advantage over other organizations. And we all know that the knowledge, skills, and abilities of the workforce are actually the keys to the organizational success. So the retention of talent, intellectual capital, and knowledge management are very important to support, of course, the company's mission, vision, and strategic goals. All right. In of course, in a learning organization, we all want an organization which is um, which values learning and development. That's why there is a need for organizations to spend certain amount of money for human capital or for their human resources or for their employees because these advancements and this growth would bring about changes also to the performance of their employees to to adjust and to move together in an environment where there are trends like globalization, technology, outsourcing, and also the aging of workforce and the competition amongst the talent. Therefore, nowadays, competitiveness amongst organizations are very much encouraged, and it is vital, of course, to identify, to design, and to develop strategic training and development initiatives. And this is already considered as a key HR leadership role. Okay? So para yung mga organizations makasabay nga sa pagbabago na kinaharap natin ngayon, nag-i-invest talaga sila ng malaking halaga sa training and development because they although yes they would spend more money, they would spend certain amount of money for designing or crafting training programs and training initiatives, or they may spend more money in sending out their employees to training programs. However, they would see still, regardless of the amount that they would spend for their employees, that training and development are still beneficial and has lots of advantages to their employees and as well, of course, to their organization. That's why different training endeavors are now recognized as essential factors for business success by most of the companies. And it is believed that training is a source of competitive advantage for organizations. And we all know that training can contribute greater stability, flexibility, and capacity for growth for the organization. There are actually two ways wherein an employee can contribute to the growth and stability of the organization. Those employees who underwent training becomes more efficient and later on plays a vital role in the growth of the organization. And this growth brings about stability in the workforce. In addition to that, trained workforce or trained employees would rarely leave an organization which values growth and provides learning and development to its employees. This step or this process is also providing stability to organization. And this opportunity in providing career growth would, of course, would most likely allow an employee or give a reason to employee to stay in the organization where he belongs to. All right. Number two, because of training, employees become flexible. An employee who underwent training would be more flexible and would can be able to perform his or her job in a flexible manner. For example, there will be an opening or a new department. The trained employee can be placed to that specific position because he has already been trained to perform his or her job and to perform other additional tasks. Also, training contributes capacity for growth, which means, as we always mention, training provides an opportunity for employees to master his or her task and be able to be excellent in whatever he do or he does. Therefore, it would give him more capacity or capability to grow for himself, to develop for himself, and to have that willingness to step up the ladder and be a leader of the organization. And how the organization achieve its strategic goals is, of course, related to strategic training. And strategic training has number of benefits, which are: number one, strategic training enables human resource and other professionals to get closely engaged with the business, collaborate with operating managers in solving problems, and create vital inputs to organizational results. Number two, strategic training mindset lessens the probability of viewing that only training can resolve workforce of organizational problems. And three, strategic training can provide competitive advantage for the organization. So let's go to number one. Because of strategic training, employees now becomes more engaged with the business because they know the direction, they know the target, and they could be able to contribute to these targets and objectives. And with that, it is easier for them to collaborate and to connect with other employees together with their operating managers in able to solve problems, in able to hamper or to be a solution, to provide solutions to the challenges that the organization is facing. All right. Number two, because of this strategic training, employees and most specifically the leaders would have that mindset that training is not only the solution for every problem in the organization. There are a lot more interventions that can be used or utilized to solve the problems of the organization. And they will not solely rely on the training itself only. All right. And lastly, as mentioned, because of strategic training, um, employees becomes skillful. Employees become adept, and with that, it brings about competitive advantage over other competitors or over other organizations. And in order, of course, to ensure that the organization is served in both the short and longer term, first, the strategic approach to training is the key. And training itself rather varies in different methodologies or methods. And methods could be actually online, it can be actual classroom training or offsite programs. It can also be learning on the job or OJT, on the job training. It can be webinars and other formats. So basically, training strategy, of course, since we are talking about strategic training planning, we have to know that strategy entails a plan. When you want your strategy to work, you need to plan, and get initial point to particular goal or set of goals. So you have to know where are you are currently at, and of course where are you going to, so that you can assess or you can plan ahead the activities or the actions that you will do to be able to reach the goal or the directions that you are aiming to be in. Okay, so a strategic training plan would engage on expressing these intended results and chemistry of several related aspects, which are the following. So number one is obviously expressed results. Ibig sabihin, na, dapat nagsiset tayo ng outcomes. Ano ba yung target natin? Ano ba yung gusto nating maging resulta ng ating training program, ng ating plano? Ano ba yung gusto nating at the end of this training program or training plan, these are the outcomes that we want to achieve. Because without target, um, sobrang hirap yun kasi kunwari magte-train ka tapos hindi mo alam kung ano yung kailangan mong achieve. Eh di, hindi mo alam yung ano eh, pagka wala kang vision or wala kang mission, hindi mo alam ano ba yung gagawin natin, ano ba yung target natin. So, it's very important that results should be obvious, results should be very clear and stated clear to the employees. Number two is guide principles. Okay, so itong guide principles na to with help along the way, paano ba natin ma-achieve tong mga results na to? Ano ba dapat yung gawin natin? Dapat ba during the course of the training, kailangan nagpo-provide tayo ng feedback sa mga empleyado so that um, they will be able to know um, if what they are doing are okay, or okay ba yung ginagawa nila, tama pa ba yung ginagawa nila, or kailangan ba natin silang i-coach, kailangan ba natin silang i-mentor. Importante yung principles or guidance, and of course, um, may rules ka na susundin, alam mo kung tama pa ba o mali na yung ginagawa mo. Number three is impact on the organization's mission and operations. As mentioned, importante na clear yung mission at yung target ng ng isang organization. And we have to know that this mission should create an impact to the organization. So with that, pag clear yung mission, pag clear yung magiging strategy natin, yung gagawin ng mga tao would impact to the organization. Yung magiging actions nila would something that influence the organization to achieve its mission and operation. So, importante na clear nga talaga yung mission, clear nga talaga yung vision, so that anything that the employee will do would be beneficial or would be helpful in the achievement of the organization's goals and objectives. Number four, senior leaders and management involvement. In creating a training plan or in implementing training plan, there should be support coming from the leaders and management involvement. When the employees see that their leaders or the managers or the heads or the executives are supportive in the implementation of the training or the in creating the training plan, um, they would be more motivated. They would be more engaged with the accomplishment of these goals because they know that along the way the managers are interested in what they do and they are engaged also in the activities that they are doing in the organization. Number five, current state assessment. As mentioned, the organization should know where they are at currently. What is the status of their organization, or what is the status of the plan or the strategy? And then they have to identify, where are we going to? Ano ba yung direction natin? Saan ba tayo papunta? Kasi pag alam mo yung kung saan ka currently nandoon, at kung saan yung papunta mo, nalalaman mo yung gap dun sa current at dun sa required. Therefore, nabibigyan mo ng corresponding actions yung gap, nabibridge mo siya para ma-attain mo yung target mo eventually. Number six is measurement and sustainability. Of course, itong outcome na to, yung na-set na natin na outcomes, yung results na gusto nating mangyari, dapat na may measure siya at masusustain siya. Kasi kung hindi naman pala na may measure yung ano natin, yung outcomes natin or yung expressed results natin, hindi natin alam kung na-hit na ba siya or na-achieve na siya. So when you create a strategic plan, the outcomes should be measurable. The objectives should be measurable so that you'll be able to know um, if you already achieved the target or if you haven't achieved the target yet, but still, you can still quantify ano pa yung kulang natin and how are we going to achieve the remaining targets or the remaining goals. Number 7, end user input. Of course, when you create a plan, when you strategize, there should be involvement of those people who eventually will use or who will eventually be trained in that specific program. Pagka-involve nga yung mga empleyado, pagka alam nila na parte sila at binibigyan sila ng participation dun sa pag-create ng plan or sa pag-strategize, they would feel that they are part of the organization and they would contribute more ideas, inputs, so that there will be more collaboration amongst the organization and the employees. At sabi nga natin, the more ideas, the better na nakakapag-draft tayo o nakapag-draft tayo ng mas magandang solution sa mga problems ng organization. And sabi nga nila, di ba, two heads are more than one. Hindi, joke lang. Two heads are better than one. So, mas maganda pagka maraming mga nag-iisip, mas maraming ideas, mas maraming na-generate na possible solutions dun sa problems na kiniface ng organization. Next is performance measures. Of course, yung evaluation ng performance ng mga employees, if they are really performing or not, if they are really hitting the target or not, very important yun. It can provide motivation. It can provide also a clear picture of what they should do then or what should they do next para makapag-perform ng mas maayos. And they could also see ano yung help na kailangan nila from their supervisors at ayun yung maibibigay na help at mabibigyan sila ng support para makapag-perform pa rin ng maayos. And of course, this can also be used to provide incentives and rewards to those who are really performing and those who are performing very well in the organization. Number 9 is time frame. Very important din yung span of time. Kung nasa-set natin yung time, mas clear sa mga empleyado, kailan ba to dapat matapos? Kailan ba dapat ito, ano ba yung deadline? Kasi pagka walang naset na time, mas bumabagal yung trabaho, mas nagpipetik. So, importante yung somehow may time pressure so that may excitement pa rin and it can lead to healthy competition, it can lead to somehow mas lumalabas yung excitement nga and yung creative juices and of course yung determination really to finish the given task on a specified time. And lastly, development and planning. With development and planning, yung plan natin, it doesn't end there. It should always be developed. Yung cycle, yung process, kailangan nai-improve siya. Somehow yung mga strategies natin naman, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will automatically work out or as planned. Of course, yung mga plan natin, hindi naman lahat yun natutupad o lahat nangyayari. Kaya importante din na pinaplano ng mabuti at may development na kung hindi ito mag-work, meron tayong plan B, plan C, or plan D, or ubusin mo yung buong alphabet na hanggang plan Z for you, of course, to come up with the most viable and the most effective plan. Right. So now let's go to the organizational development and training. For an organization to develop, of course, we need plan. And one of the plans that organization have is its development and of course with the help of training. Organizational development, or OD, is the use of knowledge and techniques from the behavioral sciences to examine an existing organizational structure and implement changes in order to improve overall organizational effectiveness and health. Alright. So, si OD, ayun nga, as mentioned kanina, ginagamitan siya ng knowledge, ng techniques, and even yung behavioral sciences, ginagamit siya para ma-examine, ma-check yung currently structure ng organization? Nag-work pa ba yung structure ng organization? Or kailangan na ba natin yung baguhin? O yung current na situation ng ano natin, ng organization natin, okay pa ba siya, healthy pa ba siya, effective pa ba siya, or do we need some changes, or do we have to employ changes to the organizations? Okay, mostly yung issues na nire-resolve ng OD ay organizational climate, or ito yung kamusta ba yung how do employees perceive the organization? Ito yung perspective ng employees dun sa organization. Kamusta ba para sa kanila yung buong organization? And yung pag-share ng information, lahat ba siya, nako-communicate ba siya across from top to bottom ba na approach yung pag ginagamit natin to communicate the message, or yung mga updates, or nabibigyan ba ng opportunity yung mga nasa lower positions to express themselves to the heads or to the executives. Communication is also being solved by organizational development. Through organizational development, nagkakaroon ng mas mabuting communication ng relationship yung mga empleyado. And also, team building is part of organizational development. Pagka nakabuo nga ng magandang group dynamics, pagka nagkaroon ng magandang relationship at interpersonal relationship, of course, yung mga empleyado, mas nabubuo yung team. Pag nabuo yung team, pag solid siya, mas madaling na-achieve yung goals ng organization. Also, some of the another issue that is being solved through organizational development is collaborative relationship. So through this organizational development, mas nagkakaroon ng collaboration, mas nagkakaroon ng input, ng engagement, and then ng participation yung bawat empleyado, at mas nagiging harmonious yung relationship ng bawat isa, which could also help in the achievement of the organizational goals. Okay, so ano ba yung emphasis ng organizational development natin? So through organizational development, na-identify natin yung change sa values, sa attitude, sa interpersonal relations, and sa organizational process. Yung values ba, yung core values ba ng organization ay na na-inherent ba siya? Tinataglay din ba siya ng mga empleyado? Kasi halimbawa, yung isang organization, ang target niya na values ay magkaroon ng integrity yung mga empleyado. Pero yung mga empleyado, they are not, they do not possess these values. So magkakaroon ng conflict. So para maiwasan, dapat ma-disseminate siya ng maayos at maituro sa bawat empleyado na ma-adapt yung values na yun. Okay? And also, yung attitudes, kailangan across the organization magkaroon ng right attitude towards work. Siyempre, not necessarily naman na pare-parehas lahat talaga, because we are diverse. Nandun tayo sa organization na bina-value yung equality and diversity. Yes, we may be different, but at least yung core values natin and yung core beliefs natin and yung attitudes natin, at least intact siya at common siya. May common ground yung organization. Interpersonal relations are also being changed through organizational development. And also the process. Yung process ba natin, matagal ba siya? Pwede pa ba natin siyang pabilisin? Makakasave ba tayo ng time through improvement of this process? That's why there is organizational development. So, sa amin, no, ang tawag nga namin sa OD, mga OD specialists, they are the doctors of the organization, kasi pinag-aaralan talaga nila yung yung organization, kasi ginagamitan nga ng behavioral science, yung knowledge nila, yung technique nila, yung abilities nila and knowledge nila about certain the organization, pinag-aaralan nila ng mabuti yun, and then tinitignan nila sila yung nagda-diagnose ng problem, sila yung nagbibigay ng solution, nagbibigay ng medication sa organization para mag-grow pa rin yung organization. And isa sa impact talaga o isa talaga sa mga nagagawa ng OD or organizational development is yung pagmamanage ng change. Very imperative siya na commitment sa isang organization na, of course, para magtagal ka sa industry, para magtagal yung yung kumpanya nyo, kailangan sumasabay din sa trend, sumasabay din sa bago sa uso. Halimbawa, yung mga camera before, di ba? Yung camera dati, may mga film shot, 36 shots, I don't know if naabutan nyo siya. Pero ngayon, digital na. Kung yung company na yun, nagstay lang siya sa pag-produce ng mga cameras na de-film pa at dinidevelop pa, hindi siya makakasabay, hindi na siya bibilhin ngayon. Therefore, that would cause that organization to fail and eventually fade out in this competitive world. So, importante na nagkakaroon nga ng change, na ma-manage natin yung change at na ibibigay natin siya, na communicate well natin siya sa mga empleyado at nakukuha natin yung support nila. Kasi without the support of the employees, wala din, hindi din mangyayari. So anong ganap ng training sa organizational development? Of course, para ma-communicate din to at mabigyan ng awareness yung mga empleyado about sa change na gustong i- i-introduce ng organization. Halimbawa, may pagbabago sa direction ng organization, or may pagbabago sa mga positions, mga ganon. So, nagko-conduct ng training muna. Halimbawa, may bagong system sa organization na gagamitin, kailangan ng training para ma-introduce yung mga bago na to sa mga empleyado. And moving forward, this training would help them to be more productive in their tasks. And it would, of course, provide organizational development. So change management is actually a process that considers three developmental phases. So yung una, para daw ma-manage yung change, yung first phase is yung new beginning na tinatawag. So it necessitates an employee to distinguish ineffective and depart from them. Very important din yung awareness, self-awareness para sa mga empleyado. They have to accept na hindi sila perfect at meron pa silang something to improve. So, we all know na yung first response or ang initial reaction natin when there is a change is nagre-resist tayo. So, yung resistance. So, dito sa phase na to, yung new beginning, possible na yung mga tao nagre-resist pa. Do you remember yung first time na online class yung yung magiging approach natin or yung magiging methodology natin sa klase? Who among you here? Sige nga, yung automatically, okay, sige, excited ako, mag-online class tayo. Yes, yay, online class, exciting to. For sure, there are resistance on our part. May mga questions tayo, may mga inhibitions tayo. Will this work for us? Kasi this will be the first time, di ba? So, nandun pa tayo sa ineffective pa tayo and we should accept that na kailangan pa nating mag-adjust. So that is the first phase. Kailangan nating malaman ano ba yung inefficiencies natin, ano ba yung gap pa para ma-achieve natin talaga yung competencies required for us to adapt with these changes. So number 2 is the neutral zone. So ito na yung second phase. This is when the realignment happens. So although yung new functions may not have become set, hindi pa siya set automatically, the old functions have been left behind. So ngayon, unti-unti na tayo dito sa phase na to, unti-unti ka na nakakapag-adjust. Ngayon, nakakasabay ka na sa online class, nakaka-access ka na ng Google Classroom, nakakasabay ka na, naka-attend ka na ng mga Zoom meetings, Google Classroom. So unti-unti na rin, nasasanay ka na dito sa neutral zone na yon. Not automatically na talagang nag-grasp mo na yung changes, pero at least you are ready and you are more accepting of the changes that are happening currently in your current situations. And lastly, yung last phase, yung endings. So this takes place when our fresh sense of purpose has been revealed and change is starting to occur. So nandun na yung change and na-embrace mo na yung change, na ready ka na okay na, ito na talaga. This is the new normal and I have to live with it and by it. So in organizational development, the organization must also pursue extremely analogous phases to those experienced by the individual. Kailangan pa din syempre na may support para maano natin yung new beginning, may transcend natin or maka-move tayo dun sa endings or sa last phase ng change management. Of course, kailangan ng help ng organization sa kanilang mga empleyado. Okay? So, and of course, yung paano ba sila matutulungan doon? Yung training, yung pagbibigay ng learning interventions, or pagbibigay ng awareness seminar, ayun, makakatulong siya sa um, pag-achieve ng change management or yung change na gustong ipatupad ng organization. Okay, so let's now go to strategic training and development process. So paano ba natin na magagawa na itong strategic training and development natin? Ano ba yung mga proseso na kailangan natin gawin para nga ma-implement natin itong training and development strategically? Okay, so yung first step now or first process is identify business strategy. Number two, strategic training and development initiatives that support strategy. Three, strategic training and development activities. And four, metrics of training success. So, iisa-isahin natin tong mga process na to. Number one is to identify business strategy. Very important yung identification ng strategy natin. Ano ba yung mission? Ano ba yung mission? Ano ba yung values ng organization? So pag ano na lang natin, differentiate lang natin tong tatlo. So yung mission is the organization's reason for existence. Bakit ba nag-exist itong organization na to? And you have to live by it. Nag-exist kami kasi we want to provide the best service to our customers. Ano? Number two, vision is the picture of what the organization wants to reach in the future. So in the near future, gusto namin na makilala na number one yung organization in terms of this specific industry. Okay? And yung values, ano ba yung pinaniniwalaan ng organization? So dapat across the employees, across the entire organization, magkaroon ng core values na ayun yung magiging guiding principles nga ng isang buong organization. And of course, para ma-identify ito, kailangan nating gamitan ng SWOT analysis. Ang ginagamit natin dito is SWOT analysis para mas maging significant yung accomplishment ng step na to. Okay, so ina-identify natin yung strength, yung weakness, yung opportunities and threats ng isang organization. So tinitignan natin ano ba yung internal and external factors that affect the entire organization para ma-achieve tong mission, vision, and then values ng isang organization. Okay. Next is the strategic training and development initiatives that support strategy. Initiatives are learning-related actions that organizations must do to accomplish their business strategy, which depends on industry, goals, resources, and capabilities. The initiatives come from the business environment, understanding the goals and resources of the organization, and insight on potential training and development activities, which offer the roadmap in formulating training and development activities. Ayun nga. So kanina na-identify natin ano ba yung vision, yung mission, yung values, yung goals ng organization. Pag na-identify na natin yun, mas magiging strategic na yung training and development kasi makakagawa na tayo ng initiatives or certain programs na mag-support doon sa natin sa mission, vision, and goals natin or objectives and then yung values. So, ngayon, pag gagawa na tayo ng mga activities, ng mga training activities and all, ina-align na natin siya doon sa target natin na mission, na vision, and then values. So, lahat ng gagawin nating training dapat anchored na doon para ma-help yung organization na ma-achieve yung gusto niyang mangyari. So, ito yung some of training and development initiatives. So, yung we diversify the learning portfolio. So we open the learning opportunities to each and every employee na mas papalawakin natin yung kaalaman ng ibang tao, yung differences nila i-take into consideration. Accelerate the pace of employee training. Ayun, mas nagiging strategic siya. Pagka yung training natin ay nagsusupport dun sa 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 ating vision, mission, it accelerates the pace of learning. Kasi nga, alam mo na kung ano yung target mo, alam mo yung gustong mangyari. So, mas napapabilis yung training kasi alam mo yung target mo, kung saan mo gustong makarating. And then, you improve customer service. Okay? So, dahil nga, halimbawa, ang mission nyo ay makapag-provide ng best service sa mga employees. So, yung customer service din ay nai-improve na natin. And then, nakaka-capture and mas nag-share ng knowledge. Pag strategic, ito yung some of the initiatives na ginagawa nila. So, ini-improve nila. Alright? So, Okay, so ito pala yung mga initiatives or yung mga programs para ma-support yung strategy, yung mission, vision, at saka values ng organization. So, dine-diversify nila yung portfolio ng employees, ina-accelerate, mas pinapabilis yung employee learning para makasabay dun sa mga changes ng industry. Ini-improve yung customer service para nga mas dumami yung mga customers, mas maging loyal yung customers, maging ambassador ng product and ng brand. And then, they utilize the sharing of knowledge. Okay? Next step is the strategic training and development activities. So, ano na yung mga activities based dun sa mga initiatives na gagawin natin? So, the activities to accomplish initiatives must be identified in this step. So, yun na nga, tignan na natin, ano ba yung mga activities, certain activities na pwede natin gawin para ma-accomplish yung mga mentioned na initiatives na gusto nating mangyari. So these activities may include developing initiatives on the application of new technology in training, enhancing admittance to training programs for a specific group of employees, dropping development time, and developing refresh or extended course offerings. So, ito yung some of the training activities, sample ng training activities. Halimbawa, ngayon, gumagamit na ng web-based training, lalo na ngayon, di ba, para pa rin maka-attend ng mga trainings yung mga employees dahil um, we are not permitted to do face-to-face training as of the moment, hindi pa siya masyadong pwede. So, gumagamit na ng web-based training. Make deployment planning mandatory. So, pinaplan ahead na ano ba yung development na gusto nating mangyari sa employees. Nilalatagan na siya ng developmental plan. Ito yung gusto, may IDP na or individual development plan yung mga employees para alam niya paano siya mag-grow, ano yung magiging journey niya sa organization. And then, develop websites for knowledge sharing. So ngayon, may mga portal na, may mga learning hub na yung mga organizations wherein they can easily access the training programs or nakaka-attend sila ng mga webinars, gano'n. Easier na. Ito yung mga activities na ginagamit nila para mas maging strategic yung training. And lastly is the metrics of training success. It is essential to determine whether training and development truly contributed to the organization's goal attainment. Expected outcomes directly connected to the organization's strategy and goals include a focus on customer service, employee satisfaction, employee turnover, number of product or service defects, time spent on product and service development, number of patents, or time spent filling management positions. So itong metrics of training success, ito yung last process natin. Of course, tinitignan natin kasi chine-check na natin, effective ba yung naging initiative natin, yung mga activities na ginawa natin. So, minimeasure na natin, ini-evaluate na naman natin siya to check if these really are strategic or if this really complements our mission, vision, and then our values. So, ito yung mga sample na metrics para makita na may value nga talaga yung training. So as mentioned, before gumagawa sa training, no, ang ginagamit nating evaluation na yung Kirkpatrick levels of evaluation. Ito naman yung ginagamit natin for strategic training and development. So ito ay another model lang din ng evaluation. So chine-check if there is learning, kung may learning ba na nag-occur, may improvement ba in terms of performance, na-reduce ba yung complaints ng customers, na-reduce ba yung turnover, and na-satisfy ba yung employees. Okay? So, I think ito na yung entire chapter 2. I hope that you learned something this very day. So, again, thank you for staying with me and see you on our next discussion. See you on the next chapter.